This is a MacBook Pro with M2 Max. When it was new, it cost more than $3,000. I just installed macOS 27 a few weeks ago, and Apple's big news feature is the Siri AI. And Siri AI just told me my machine does not qualify. 3 years old. Apparently it's too old for Apple. And that's not even the thing that in this update that annoyed me most. I've been living on the Golden Gate beta, so you don't have to. So here's the deal. Over the next few minutes, I am going to give you a few flaws Apple won't mention on the stage at all. I will be showing you a hidden screen on your Mac that lists every app you own that dies next year. And by the end, you'll have a pretty good idea what Apple is trying to do. So stick around.
Quick ground rules. This is the public beta. It just came out and anyone can install it. I also run the developer beta for a few weeks before this, and between the two, I feel like almost nothing changed. That kind of proves my point. A beta cycle fixes bugs and it doesn't necessarily fix decisions. Everything I am about to show you is a decision. It's the stuff that Apple chose to do or chose again not to do. The bugs are temporary and I know Apple is going to fix them, right? But the choices are the product itself. I'll still take another look when the final version ships this fall, and we'll see if there's any meaningful changes.
Credit first, because there is real credit to give. The big one is the speed. App launches, switching windows, waking from sleep. Everything just moves faster. And remember, this is a 3-year-old machine. I'll take that over a new wallpaper any day. There is a pile of small stuff too. macOS can suggest file names now, based on what's actually inside of the file. Safari will group all the related tabs on its own. It can watch a page for changes. Nice touches. But none of them really super impactful to your day-to-day flow. And it's not why you're here. So, floor's high, let's talk about the ceiling.
Here is flaw number 1.
The Siri AI now requires an M3 or later to run on device. Here's why that should bother you even if you have an M3. This M2 Max outperforms base M3 machine and M4 machine in almost everything. This is not a machine that can't do it. This is a machine Apple decided shouldn't do it. And there's a word for this. When the headline feature only works on the newest hardware, that's really not an update. That's an upsell. Apple sold this laptop as a Pro machine 3 years ago, and Golden Gate is the first update that treats like a trade-in.
Alright guys, so let me illustrate my problem. On the left, you are seeing my MacBook Pro with M2 Max chip with 12-core CPU and 30-core GPU. Paid about $3,200 a couple of years ago, and Apple is saying this device cannot run Apple Intelligence. But funny enough, I am actually running some local language models and I have no problem. Yes, RAM is a limitation, bandwidth could be a problem sometimes, but to say that this is not eligible to run the Apple Intelligence is really not very convincing. On the right, you're looking at my wife's M4 MacBook Air with 10-core CPU and 10-core GPU. We bought it last year, and this thing doesn't have a fan. I mean, Apple is saying this device is capable of running the Apple Intelligence, and my M2 Max, same chip family, right? M series, not too old. So I would like you to let me know if I'm missing something important, because it just doesn't seem like a convincing argument.
If any of this is useful for you, consider subscribing. It helps me tremendously to be able to put videos like this. Now, back at it.
Flaw number 2. I'm going to call it flaw. Some people could call planned obsolescence, but essentially, this is the one that I think we all should be aware of. The Golden Gate is the last version of macOS that fully supports Rosetta 2. You might be asking, what is Rosetta 2? Well, think of like the translation layer. Remember, Intel was the powering chips for these computers? So a lot of the apps that you still use today were built on Rosetta. So with macOS 28, which is next year, it'll be gone. And those apps will not work anymore. The detail that I think we all should be aware is that if you upgrade from Tahoe to Golden Gate, it silently uninstalls Rosetta. Day one, your old app's just not gonna work. You have to reinstall it, and there is no warning. You just have to find it when the apps don't work. But to Apple's credit, there's now a list in the settings. It shows exactly which apps are not going to work, which ones are on the death row per se. So everything on the screen dies next fall. So I would just pause right here and go check yours. And so pretty simple, go to settings, click on general, see about, and you'll see Intel based apps. Then tell me in the comments, if there are any apps that are super critical to you, because there are some for me and I am trying to find alternatives already.
Law number 3, the apps view. Last year, Tahoe deleted the Launchpad, a launcher that worked fine for over a decade, and then they replaced with this. There are some category tabs across the top, apps sorted into the rows Apple picked for me, I guess, and there's a plain alphabetical grid. I think this thing is awful. I loved Launchpad. It showed me my apps. This shows me Apple's opinion of my apps. People complained for an entire year, and I thought maybe like Golden Gate was a chance to walk it back a little bit, or at least give us some kind of a toggle. They didn't, and that's not an oversight anymore. That's a choice.
I find it very difficult to use because a lot of the times I can't find the app that I'm looking for, even when actually I search. So that's it. I mean, you have to search to find rather than scrolling through. And this is a very small area to play with. And there is this like thing around the corner here. I don't know. You tell me, what do you think? If you're utilizing, let me know. But I feel like this is a downgrade.
Law number 4. This is the one is almost sad. Liquid glass. When Apple revealed it, it was exciting. It was bold. It had depth. It looked like nothing Apple had ever shipped. 2 years later, look at what's left. The icons, flattened. The glass, it's buried under the frost. And instead of perfecting the idea, Apple handed us sliders. Sliders are basically design team saying, hey, you know what? We're not going to try to make this work. You figure it out. Put the original reveal next to today's build. It's not even close. And what survived isn't even consistent. Menus are doing one thing, apps are doing something different. 10 years ago, Apple wouldn't retreat like this. They would perfect it, or they wouldn't ship it. I turned down the frost all the way up and I forgot this feature even exists. Law number 5, iPhone mirroring. So on paper, this is the best feature Apple has ever shipped in my opinion. Basically your iPhone living on your Mac. You never have to pick up the phone, right? That's the idea. But here's what actually happens almost every time I try to open it. It fails to connect. Or it decides today is the password day and locks me out until I sign it again. The entire point of this app is that my phone stays in my pocket, my backpack, or on a counter. So if I have to grab the phone anyway, what is the even app for? 2 years in, and it's still not boring and reliable. That is the only thing it ever needed to be. So here's what I land. Golden Gate is a good update wrapped around some uncomfortable choices. Your hardware ages out faster than it should. Your old apps are on a timer. And the stuff that was broken last year, well, it's still broken. Should you install the public beta this month? On a spare machine or a separate volume? Sure. On the Mac you work on? Definitely don't. And when the final release ships, I'll be back to this exact list to check what Apple actually fixed. So subscribe if you want the receipts. This is almost perfect. As usual, see you in the next one.